Your colleague at the Times, David Gellis, has an interesting piece up this morning really about CEO confidence, and he quotes the CEO of Marriott, Arne Sorensen. "I'm less optimistic today than I was 30 days ago. The virus is in so many different markets of the United States." I mean, investors are being asked to weigh that kind of commentary versus the positive news, even though incremental, on the vaccine front.
Well, yeah, I think, short and maybe medium term, meaning up to 6 months, things are not looking good. We just do not, it just was not realistic, I think, for distancing, masks and all of that to stop this virus, which obviously has not in this country. But I've been talking to quite a few CEOs in the last few weeks, and longer term, I'm hearing still a lot of optimism, especially over these vaccine developments. That the next few months are kind of riding off, but the vaccine news is very good. And let's face it, that is a successful vaccine that can be produced in the billions and distributed widely. Is the silver bullet here? That is what's going to stop this and stop it without additional severe curbs on people's behavior. People can go back to movie theaters and plays and concerts and sporting events. That's the bright future that I think people are looking forward to. And this virus news is now suggesting that the vaccine could be distributed, starting before the end of the year. And I think that is a very positive development.
It doesn't sound then like you think stocks are necessarily going to go for sale, or that anyone interested in getting in is going to have that great an opportunity in the coming months.
Well, I think, as long as the vaccine news stays on track, and at this point, there are so many candidates that look like they're doing very well, that even, one failure, I don't think is going to derail the optimism on that front. But as long as that stays intact, I would definitely see any sharp pullbacks as buying opportunities. But without that, the good news on the vaccine is pretty much reflected in current prices, which, again, I think today you're not seeing a huge rally on that news because, people are expecting, and investors, I think especially, have been looking at the vaccine front. They're overlooking these shorter-term setbacks and even the earnings results coming in now. I mean, even the banks, for example, a lot of those big reserves they're taking, it's still very unclear how much of that they'll actually have to spend. I mean, they're anticipating these losses. In many cases, they haven't materialized yet. So the short-term results, I think people are discounting and looking at the longer-term outlook.
Jim, the focus is increasingly turned to November and the election that will take place then. If there is a change in party in the administration, in the White House in November, what do you believe a lame duck administration would mean for this pandemic if there is no vaccine in the last few months of the year?
Well, I think if there's no vaccine, which I hope there is, but if there's not, I would expect much more policymaking coming out of the federal government, much more federal intervention, much more issuing of guidelines. I mean, I think it would take some clarifying to know exactly what the federal government's powers are here, because a lot of it does belong with the states. But I think you would see much more of a insistence on following guidelines, which would mean closing down the economy more than we have now.